So the great majority of you are going to want to create mood boards, and by far the best piece of software for you to use to create mood boards is InDesign. So I want to start you off by getting you up and running with InDesign. So find InDesign on your computer. The interface will look slightly different if you're working on the Creative Cloud. And when you first open InDesign, one of the first things that InDesign is asking you to do is to decide what output are you actually designing for. So normally on the new Creative Cloud you get a kind of window here which gives you a series of different options. I'm going to go File and I'm going to go New Document, and you'll see that those options are listed underneath here. So effectively you can use InDesign to create the interface of a website or the interface of an app on your phone, etc. So you've got different options. You've got a web option, digital publishing, etc. For you, it's going to be a print option. You can insert a number of pages if you want to, but for the moment we're not going to worry about that. What you can think about is that InDesign is really designed for digital publishing. So if you're producing a book, if you're producing a magazine, if you're creating different layouts, etc., this is the tool for this particular purpose. Think about a book for the moment. When you open up a book, you've got a front cover, you've got a back cover, you've got internal information. You might get to a main chapter heading, you might get to a main text page, you might get to an index section. So each one of those page layouts are different, and what you can do in InDesign is create a series of different master pages. So we're not going to worry for the moment about inserting any more pages than just one, but we are going to concentrate on obviously the size of the page. So we've got different options. We might wish to give ourselves an A3 option. We might want to think about orientation. So is it portrait format? Is it landscape format? And the number of columns. So if we were writing an essay, we might want to have 2 or 3 columns. The gutter is the distance between the columns, so we can modify that. All of these things can be modified anyway. Margins are simply the space at the top of the page, bottom of the page, and the inside and outside of the pages. Bleed and slug are more typographic issues. Bleed relates to the idea of if you wanted to print an image that went completely across your whole page or your layout, and you didn't want to have any border around that photograph, then simply bleed allows that photograph to go slightly over the size of the page so that when it's trimmed it's up to size. And slug is a place where normally graphic designers place notes for a printer. If we click OK, what we're now going to create is a blank document. Now what we have here is a first page, and this at the moment is the page that we're looking at. What we really want to focus on, however, is our master page. And what we're going to do is going to click on the master page and we're going to modify our master page. So the idea is that we can create a particular format for our mood boards. We might wish to have different kinds of formats, but once we've set these up, it means that we can then insert them whenever we want to create more documents and more mood boards. So what's really useful is to have some guides to work to. So we can go to Layout, and we can go to Create Guides. So these are non-printing guides. But if I click the preview button on here and then I start to introduce the number of rows, what you can see straight away is that we're starting to get some rows appear. If I then start to add some columns, you can see I've now got some columns. And I'm going to go OK. So you can see that that layout has been applied to this particular master page. If I go Add, what you can see now is I've got a different page, a B master page. So I might decide to go to my layout and create a different format. This time I might have many more rows and many more columns. Really, you can design the pages however you wish. Obviously, you don't have to necessarily put a content in every single one of these boxes. You might decide that you want to have a layout which gives you a coloured background. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this box here, which is my sort of contents box, and I'm going to place this over the page here. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to fill that with a colour. So in this instance, I'm going to fill it with black. Okay, I might want to have, so just cancel that for the moment. I might want to have another one of those. If I hold the Alt key down, I'll get a second version of that. And rather than black, I might decide that I'd like to have that a particular colour. So this is basically if I wanted to place my photographic images perhaps on a different coloured background. So again, this is just a layout for the moment, and I can create, as I wish, another master page. This time I just might want one complete blank page, and I might want to have an image in the middle. So again, I'll go to layout just so it helps me think about where we're going to place the content. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to put some image boxes into these layouts. So if I go to this tool over here, the one with the cross on, if I click and drag over there, I create a picture box. If I hold the Alt key down, go to the Move tool, I'll get another version of that. So it's a quicker way of doing a sort of copy and paste. If I then hold the Alt key down again, move that, I'll get another version of that. Obviously that's the same size as this one. If I go to that one at the top, hold the Alt key down, I've now created another version of that. If I now select those all together by holding the Shift key down, I can copy and paste. I now have another box over there. And if I paste again, I'll place this over here. Then if I hold one of the space bars and start to pull that open, you can see that I'm resizing all of those to fit in there. Once I've created that layout, I could select all of those, again holding the Shift key down. I could copy and paste that to the opposite side, creating my layout here. If I then went to my B page, I might decide to have a different layout option. So again, go to that contents box. I might wish this time to have a big image and another big image. Hold both of those down, hold the Alt key across. I might decide to have a layout like so, etc, etc, etc. So we can create different layouts and we can create different picture boxes. And obviously the key thing is to set these boxes up in the master pages. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy that, paste that across to there. And I might decide this time that this box is actually just going to be in the middle, and this one is just going to be in the middle. Now if I go to my master page, my A master page, you can see that the layout that I've got is based on the layout that I had in this master page over here. If I click down here, add another page, the page that I'm adding is another A page. If I click on that, it's another A page. And you can tell that because over here in the corner, it tells you that this is an A page. If I go to pages and then go insert pages, I can change the A master to a B master page. What you'll now see is that I've got a B master page. If I now add another page, I've added another B master page. So I've now set my layout options up. Again, if I go insert pages, I could this time change to C, etc, etc, etc. I could add a number of A pages in, or B pages in, etc. Once I've created my content blocks, you can see I've got these windows waiting for some pictures to go into them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place some pictures. So I want to find somewhere where I've got some images on my computer. Here we go, I've got some pictures here. I'll just scroll down and grab a couple of those, and you can handle quite a few images in one go. And you can see at the moment I've got 9 pictures. If I just click in there, click in there, click in there, click in there, instantaneously those pictures have gone into that content. If I go to my next page, you can see I've got 5 pictures left. I can place those into there. If I didn't click in the picture box and just clicked, then that's going to go in full size. Now at the moment what's happened is that these photographs have gone into this picture box full size, so we're only seeing fragments of this image. Now if we are happy with that but we want to move that picture within that box, we can go to this central circle and you can see that you can move the content within the box. We can of course adjust all of those accordingly. But we might wish to resize the content of the box. So I'm just going to move that around in here like so. If we come to this page over here and we click on this box for the moment, what you can see, there's a series of little kind of diagrams over here. Now this does differ if you're working on a PC. With PCs you have to look at the fitting option. But you can see here it says fill frame proportionally. So if I click on that, the image has retained its original proportion, but it's filled the frame somewhat. So again, I can come into here and I can reposition that. If I click on this box and go to here, it says fit content proportionally, in which case now you can see that the content has resized itself according to the height of this box, obviously changing the spacing. If I go to here and click on that, you can see that that says fit content to frame. So in other words, it's now distorted the image to fit within that box. If I come over to here, go to this one, fit frame to content, obviously my picture box would now get bigger because my content is bigger. So obviously I could decide now to move that picture to a different size, giving me a different layout. That's fundamentally it in terms of how you set up a basic InDesign document, how you create a series of guides for yourself, how you put some content into those guides, and how you can resize that particular content. It's also worth remembering the following. You don't just have to insert into an InDesign document JPEG images. You can actually insert Photoshop images, you can insert other Illustrator documents. So basically anything within the sort of Creative Cloud option. I can move sort of elements around to my heart's content. But the key thing to remember is that the layouts that I've created in the master page shouldn't have content put in them. Otherwise, if I insert that content into further pages, that content will reappear again and again and again. So for instance, if you had a logo design or a sort of banner heading that you wanted on each of your pages, you could put that up in the master pages. The other thing to understand is what InDesign is doing. If we save this document, we're saving a document which has links to the photographic source material. So what we'll discover is that whilst the resolution of this image is fairly high and it will print to a really good spec, the actual size of the document will be relatively small. The reason for that, as I say, is we're creating links between the original photograph and this document. Therefore, if we move the content, if we move the pictures from one file to another file, what will happen is that InDesign will then have lost the location of that particular image. It can re-find it again, but you need to be aware of that when you're producing your artwork. If you were sending this to a printer, obviously to print professionally, then you might need to format or package this information in a different way. But that's a very, very simple instruction to setting up an InDesign document.